Hey party people, and welcome back to MVM. And today I'm here with a preview for Echoes of Sundering. This is by Wilder Forge Games. Now, let's just address the elephant in the room. It's been a while since I've been back on camera, and I'm really happy to see you. Took some time off, and here we are with this preview. Now, I don't just come back for sponsor videos, but I actually came back because I wanted to talk about a game by a very small publisher and one that you're not necessarily familiar with. I'm actually going to take a little bit of a different route with this one because this kind of has a bigger conversation going on with it. It's actually on crowdfunding right now. It's on Kickstarter right now. And it's funded. It's been out for a week, and I'm sure there's a lot of feedback that's going on in the chat there. There's probably enough videos out there to talk about the gameplay mechanics. In fact, I'm going to recommend two. You can go to Meet Me at the Table, does a playthrough of that one. And of course, the One Stop Co-op Shop, two of the most reliable content creators out there for adventure games like this. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the game, but I'm not going to go that deep into it. I'm actually going to talk about the things that I enjoy in this game, and also I'm going to talk about some things that I have feedback on. So if that's not the type of sponsor video you're looking for, I apologize in advance, but that's where I'm going to go with today, because I think sometimes there's more of a conversation to have, and it's rarely done in sponsored videos. So without further ado, thank you to Wilder Forge for sponsoring this video today. I'm going to be talking about Echoes of Sundering. Now, a little bit of story time on this one. I played this at Gamma, I think 2 years ago, and just some guys at the table, they're like, hey, check this game out. I played a round or two, and I was like, boy, this needs a lot of work, but it's got a lot of good ideas in here. And here we are, flash forward. I played it months ago. They took some of my feedback, went back, address that feedback, and I can tell, and they're constantly working to make this game better. And that is actually what crowdfunding is all about. So here we are with Echoes of Sundering in its current state, and this is a 1 to 5 player game. You will have to play with either 3 players or 5 players, and they have a way of making it a drop in and drop out game, because you can play with 1 character and have 2 companion characters. And the companion characters are a little bit more of a lesser upkeep type of character. So this can easily be done with a solo player and two companions. Or let's say you had 2 players and you'd have to have 1 companion. And the decisions are very, very easy for that. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but let's talk about character development and the overarching thing. So there's this fog. This fog is kind of like the threat in the game, and there's some timing around that. You're going to kind of have to move forward in the game, otherwise there will be things that happen to you. Yes, you'll be on quests. This is an epic adventure type game with branching narrative, general talk here, right? But there are choices, there are keywords. The keywords will help you unlock certain paths and things of that nature. This is all kind of standard affair, but it's what you do with your characters and how you create the characters. I think that tells the true story of the game. So let's go ahead and dive into that. You're going to start with a character. They will have a background. So they could be highborn, they could be, kind of outcasts and things of that nature. So they can come from different types of backgrounds, and that will be the beginning of building your character. Your character is basically a deck build, all right? So it's going to be also a combination of what type of person you are. So like you may become like this highborn person, but at the same time, I was also a trader. I was also, I'm a fae fork. I was also performing when I was young. And what you're doing is you're creating a combination of colors. And those colors represent, the combination of those colors represent who you're going to become as far as classes go. So you'll have what's called the challenger, the mender, the shaman, the scout, the seer. I have the scout here. I also have a seer here as well, a strategist, a warden, a warrior. And these are all based on the color combinations: red, blue, green, yellow, purple, and I think one more. I can't remember the top of my head, but there are several other colors, and you're going to be going into a book that tells you, hey, when you put these 2 colors together, this is going to make you who you are. So it gives you a little bit of story, and there's actually even a more thematic way to build it if you want to do that as well. So it gives you that little bit of customization that you can create to create who you are and start the game off. That's a very interesting point to me, because I want to have some kind of stake into who I become, other than just saying, hey, if I'm a warrior, build this deck. Well, it actually does that too, but it'd be nice if you kind of had a little bit more thematic control in there, and that was one of the things that I did enjoy right up front. Now, you're also going to have cards based on your choices, so you already have some choose your own adventure stuff. So they'll say something like, I was a highborn. My family is known as A or B, and based on that, I'll get a card. As a child, I blank or blank. I enjoy learning from my tutors or spending time wandering our vast lands. So you choose one, you get leisure. You choose the other one, you get learned, that kind of thing like that. So you get these special cards, you'll put them inside of your deck. I believe the starting deck is 20 cards, and it's a combination of the two colors, but then also the two cards you would get from your background and like also your origin. So then that kind of tells your story. You'll combine that, and then you're off on your adventure. Now, what does that look like? Well, right here, you are looking at a combination of characters. Now, I've just kind of made this fake scenario up. You know how I am. I like to make these fake scenarios up. And we have two characters here, but then we also have a companion character. And the companion character is really kind of like your fill slot because there are certain requirements for your party. I have broken them, but you have to have certain colors to have them in there. And this is one of the things that I truly enjoy when you have games that give you options to not have such beefy characters. Like managing two hands is pretty heavy because of the combat, which we're going to get into. But to have a character in the middle that's kind of a chill, kind of back and forth type character where you just place something on there and take the actions. Building the character really is just providing these missing colors, creating that character, finding the character card that matches it, and now you have this. If they continue to develop this and make this smooth, this is a huge, huge, huge selling point because you can't always get people to game night, specifically for solo players or low player count players. If you have to have 3 represented, this would be the best way to do it. I also think of games like Gloomhaven that have, you know, a lot of mental upkeep, and this one makes it a lot less. So just think of that as well. We're about to talk about these checks as well in a minute here, but we'll just get into a little bit of the combat. So the game is played by using these cards. And like I said, the cards are a combination of the colors. So let's say if you had a red and a green, well, a red and a green would be attack heavy, but it'd also be healing. So it's like attack and healing. This is a seer, so it'd be like a magic-ish attacking class. I have the rhythmic step here, this commander. So she's kind of attacky, but she's also helpful, like kind of a support, a little bit support, and also kind of running and helping other people get things done. Now I have the scout. The scout is really good at defense, but it's also kind of a lone wolfish kind of character. So it's got a little combination of cards as well too. So you also have your enemies down here at the bottom. And what you're looking at here is your health, your defense, and then like your, let's say your action points, your mana in a sense for the action points for your turn. I shouldn't say mana, it's action points. It's basically your action points. And you're going to be facing off against different scenarios. And a lot of the scenarios, once you zoom out here and you get into the combat type stuff, when you zoom in here and get into the combat stuff, it'll look like a deck of cards like this. Now, if I remember correctly, a little bit down the line, there's going to be different things that happen as far as like the type of attacks and different types of scenarios you have. And this is a really good example because early on, after the normal combat, and you kind of get a taste of how things work. You have like one of the first combats here that takes place in the town in the arena. And what you'll be doing is you'll be drawing 5 cards from your deck. And the 5 cards will be what you'll be playing. You'll be playing them either for their, you'll be playing using the action points, or you'll be discarding them for a certain thing as well. So you have the different types of options you have there. So you want more action points, you discard the card to get more of them. You'll also generate a certain amount every round, and your defense will recycle every round. So basically, I'm just talking about the recovery phase, like the kind of recovery part right there. Sorry about that. So there's the recovery phase. Now you're going to be going into the hero phase. The hero phase where you actually play these cards. So you'll be playing a card and then spending this amount on here. So for example, if I wanted to do something like, I'm going to fight this enemy. Now the enemy cards, and I'll tell you, like this battle, it kind of tells a story. So it's like you're not just fighting them, you're going through a story within the fight. And I think that is a huge difference. And this is one of the things that hooked me right away when I played this game, is it's not a fight. it's a story quest inside of a fight, because it can go many different ways based on different events that may have happened before the fight, or a specific weapon that you have going into the fight, or a choice that you made. That all can play a factor in how this fight sequence goes. That's the best way to say it. And when you start to get to your action phase, the hero phase, you're going to be playing cards in however order you want to fight and deal with this situation. And when I say that, I could be playing one card, and then this person could be playing another card, and then in between that, we decide to take an action with our commander. We have a way of continuously table talking and working our way and navigating through this situation, because certain things are going to be required in order to flip this card, and it's not just attacking. So what you're looking at in the enemy here is, if you have 3 characters, you'd have 18 health. If you have 5 characters, you have 26. And then you have these certain conditions. It'll say, hey, the gate has lifted and the field, felid, stalks out. Eye scanning the arena, it looks eager to slash out at anyone that's getting too close. And you go to this arena, and we'll talk about that, but you go to this arena, you see somebody, you see all these people getting their butts kicked, and you're like, uh-oh, here we go. So now you're going to be fighting this enemy. And what happens is I had a specific word that I played already that I had. It's called bribed. As you go through your quests in this game, just like a lot of other games, you're going to have certain keywords that you unlock. You're going to be locking up, you're going to write them off in this book, this little small book right here. You're going to have a small book of keywords. You're going to be writing them off. And then if you have certain ones, of course, you'll have access to certain events and different things of that nature. But in this one, it says, if I have bribed, I gave away something. And when I did that, it deals damage to this enemy right away, making it easier. Okay, so now that I've made it easier, dig this. I read further down the card, it says, if you deal 3 damage to the felon with attacks, I get to flip the card. So like, I automatically get to flip this card because I did a certain amount of damage. Now the enemy will also have rounds of damage that it does. So for example, it will pull these tiles from the bag, and everybody has these tiles. It will target specific enemies based on the pulls of these. Now I have found, just like Isofarian Guard, you know, some people feel one way or another way about that. Even in just trying to think about my other big game, that Kinfire Chronicles, you have the bag pulls and stuff like that. That may not be your bag, all right? So it's something that you have to understand, like, I'm either into that or not. But in this game, you also have ways of putting things in the bag so that you get more of the defense, like the Scout. Scout wants more action coming my way. Then he plays cards that get other people's stuff out the bag and put his in the bag. Or they have a mechanic where you play a card and it goes on top of the bag so that they're the first ones to get attacked. So it's one of those kind of tactics that you got to play in order to get into it. But I'm just going to give you an idea. So like, let's say I have already got the keyword. I don't have to attack. I've already got that one. So I flip it over. Now the enemy is out of here. The picture says he's out of here. The felon roars in fury. And now we have a different set of attacks. And then this one says, at the end of the round, the heroes that attack this round receive 3 or 4 damage, but then the story continues, okay? So then let's just say we do that one here, and then we go to B2, so then it goes to 2B. Then it says, da 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 da. So it keeps going. The story, the epicness begins, and then we go to certain things. And like I said, sometimes we don't even attack. Sometimes we just have to reduce them to a certain amount, or sometimes we have to get keywords. So let's just, I'm rambling. It seems kind of crazy, but I truly enjoyed this part of the game, if you couldn't tell. There's like a story inside of that combat. So let's just get into a couple of my turns to give you an idea of what's going on. It says right here, it says if you reduce the felon to 8 health, so I have 3 here, and I don't know what I'm doing because I just pulled this out of my hand. So at the beginning of the round, we do what's called a recovery phase. I should have 5 cards in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, here we go. And at the beginning of the recovery phase, what will happen is I have my 5 cards, but then I also would draw 1 card. We would draw 1 card. we would be able to refresh this and take off one of these here. I didn't get to a point where you would get extra ones of these, so you'd have more actions, but that's what this is the little action marker you use. And then what I would do is I would start to look through my cards and decide, hey, all right, so now what I got here is I need to start attacking. But this character is not a heavy attack person. It's more of a defensive person. So if you ever wanted someone to take blows and kind of divert, like kind of pull the attention to you or taunt or something like that, this is what this character excels at. But it does have some mighty blows in there. Let me go ahead and close this off. And I'm going to be a little spendy with this, so why don't we just give ourselves a little bit more action points so you get an idea of what I'm doing here. I'm going to get a little wild. So let's see if we can get up to 8, and it looks like we can. So I'm going to go ahead and spin this card. It is for 4 action points, so I will spin it all the way down to 1. You're like, dude, that's crazy. So what I'll do is I'll play this card, and it says that I have to put 2 of these chips in here. I can also draw a card. All right, and it says I do 3 damage. So I'll do 3 damage. That takes it to 6, okay? So that's that. Now, I also have my ability as a seer. It says you may flip this card when you prepare, and it says if you attack and then heal, grant 2 health. Well, I could do something like that, but I want to give you an idea of what I can do. I also have the ability to discard cards to add action points, or for her, I can also heal others just depending on what it is. That gives you sort of an idea, but let's just say I wanted to make sure that I do some attacking, more attacking here. I have 5 points here. I could deal damage, or I could use all 5 to grant more action points to someone else and then also draw cards. Or I'm just going to use 2 of those, go down to 5, and then I'm going to put one of my pieces in here because it says so, and then do 2 more damage, which takes it to 8. All right, so now it's down to 8. All right, and then it's we have, oh wait, we got to get fell to 8. So I have 8 damage on here, and then we have, we need 2 more damage. So here we are. Okay, do I have enough for 2 more damage? Do I have enough for 2 more damage? And here I am just looking at stuff, trying to see if I can get there. It says, when you draw a card in the refresh phase, you may instead, the first attack deals this, once per round, deal +1 damage and generate. Okay, so I'm looking at my cards here, and he's doing a lot of things that will get defense, so I may want to do that. X is the number of defense in your discard. I don't have anything like that. So basically, I'm waiting with him, or I'm going to start to prepare to add more defense to him. He's a little bit of a waste right now, but I am going to do contain. All right, so this one says contain. I'm going to spend 1 here, and what this says is you pull 3 from this bag. Okay, so this would be them being very defensive and helping out. Return any of them to their owner, and then replace any on top of the bag in any order. So what I'm basically doing is saying, hey, you go ahead and take yours back. I am going to go ahead and take the brunt of this battle. So before we even draw, we know they're going to draw 4 times for 6 damage each. They're going to say, hey, I'm taking it. Okay, I'm going to be the one that's defending all this stuff. And that's kind of the interaction that goes on in a round. I'm not going to go too much deep into it, but you have this interaction between your colors, because that's why you have so much diversity of colors. And then you also have this ability to say, hey, like, let's attack here, let's defend here, let's make sure I do this. Let's go ahead and set up people for heavier attacks because she gets +1 attack or something like that. And then this person, they're buffing and attacking at the same time. But what I really enjoy was this part right here, because of course it's going to take you down different things, and then like every one of these has like a different type of condition, and then ultimately you're trying to kill the enemy. But that's basically combat in a nutshell. Now, when you get to the exploration part here, you're gonna have quests that take you through the story. You'll have like 1A, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and you'll be getting rid of these cards as you move along through the story, and you'll have different types of story cards that tell that, and this is how you keep it. But you'd also have your storybook right here. It's not like you don't have like these stories on little cards. There is actual story on here, and each one of the pieces and the spots are based on these here. There are several maps in the story, and they also have their own journal entries as you move along through the adventures. Now, you will have food, and you will have road events that happen as you move along. You will even camp as you move out into the plains, things will uncover. I'm not going to give you any more of that stuff, but there are some secrets to be had. And also you have the pressure of the fog, which I'm not going to get too deep into, but it is kind of the pressure and the timer of the game. Now, as you move along in here, you're going to have specific events. What you saw right there was the arena, which takes place on number 3 in here. But typically, as you move, you're going to consume the food, and then certain events are going to happen. There are also skill checks in the game, and I think at this time there's there's a little bit of a weak point because you're going to be rolling dice and pulling cards, and some of the things is like they're based on keywords, and this is very much a keyword type game. If you don't have those keywords in your combinations or they're very rare, sometimes you just don't have a chance to pass stat checks. You almost have a better chance rolling a die and looking at the number and hitting the number. I think that's another, it's just one of the weak points of this design at this time. I would also say this game it's got a lot of keywords, so it's definitely something that you're going to have to get used to and keep up with. It's kind of like sort of like a TCG type thing, a combination of that. But I think that's what that intention is there, and that's got to be something you decide whether you enjoy or not. TCG, LCG kind of thing where you're going to have these keywords that you got to pay attention to. You may have missed out on something. For example, it says you may flip this card when you prepare, if you defend, and then you contain. So that's a lot of little words in there, but those cards, they're in your deck, in your cards. It's not like they have to go find them somewhere. Once you get an idea of what they are, then you'll know. And I should say this, the character development also goes beyond this. On each card has a back to it, and it's the more exciting version of the card and more developed version, because of course you will be developing your characters. I didn't get too far in there to kind of go through a ton of that, but you will be able to develop your characters. You'll have them in sleeves. I didn't have the backs that everybody else has in the preview, so you get an idea of that. But I think overall, you have a good core of an adventure game. And I've played this several times over its development, and I thought to myself, like, this is getting better. I've seen that happen with several designs. Slay the Spire was one of them. I've seen Lacerda designs do this. I've seen a lot of designs get better as they move along, and as long as they get better, when someone asks me to cover a game like this, I cover it, okay? Because I don't think it stinks. But this is the thing. This game does not have a lot of support. And here we are, and it's in an age where there is a little bit of loss of trust and a little uncertainty. I can't guarantee you that this game 100% will, deliver, and 100%. That's not what I'm doing here. What I am saying is that I have confidence in this game. And when the experience does arrive, if it arrives and when it arrives, it will deliver, all right? I see things that need work, but I also see a core of things that are good. And that's what this crowdfunding was. It always was that. It was a place where people can make their dreams become actual reality. And this game is very close to reality. And it needs your funding, right? It needs your funding to be the best version of it that it can be. No cutting corners, no speeding it up to get it done. It needs time. I don't even know when it ends. I don't know when it's supposed to deliver. All I can tell you is it needs that time to be the best game it can be. Art is amazing. The card combinations and how they feel, there might be some balances that needs to be done, no question, but it's there, the core is there, and it's gotten better since I've seen it. And that's why it's here. So with that, hopefully I didn't sound like a pitch man, but I also wanted to kind of give a conversation to it. This is Echoes of Sundering. If you wanted more information, take a look at those videos that I talked about, but also take a look at the crowdfunding page. Stay engaged in the chat. Ask them questions, play test it with them if they have those kind of events, and hopefully you can make an informed backing decision, because I can't tell you what to do with your money. And with that, party people, thank you for your time. And also, just thanks for watching the video and joining me on MVM. You take care, party people. You have a wonderful day.